Okay, it does not notice.
Oh,
Okay,
here, I
Alan?
have the agenda up here. And I have hard copies also.
Is Alan?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna call CDA to order. It is 5:32 on July 20th, 2026. Could I get a roll call or do we need one?
Yes. Oaks
Here.
is here. Sandoval,
Here.
Cole,
Here.
and Haniro and Nelson are present. Lori and Loishinger, our new member, are absent and excused.
Okay, great. Do we want to do approval of minutes or do you want to let workforce housing get checked in?
I would let them get.
Yeah, let's get them going.
All right, this is Alan. I'm opening the Workforce Housing Committee on July 20th, 5:33, and we'll do a roll call vote as well, or a roll call attendance.
All right, Pickle,
There.
Peterson Druk, here. Roden, here. Wolf,
Right here.
Slowicki, here. Pugh,
Here.
and Schwartz and Bruce are excused, and Opitz will be joining late.
Chair, I just wanted to mention that we received a recommendation from a resident that was unable to attend in person. That prior to speaking, if you could state your names so that it's easier for people to be able to follow along who are joining remotely or watching the video after the fact.
I think that's a good idea. So I'll try to help everyone remember, including myself. And
Well, likewise, thank you.
Can we, there is a setting on the camera that will zoom in to the speaker.
That makes me dizzy, but I'll turn it on if that is your preference.
I just think it's useful for, and having watched meetings from this room.
There's another.
We still should identify ourselves, but I think it'll help. So
put a face.
we can get you some blankets.
Okay. Actually, I need the remote though, so I don't know how to change that without the remote.
That's not the remote right there.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's a different one.
If we can change it, that's.
Yeah, because it looks like a little bullseye and I don't see it on here.
On TV at my house. Bring remote.
Right.
What is the?
Well, that one doesn't have batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one will probably ate half of them.
Battery.
I don't think that's it.
It's okay, Abby.
Okay,
We'll be fine.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right, so if anyone did not hear, we're just going to identify ourselves before we speak. For the folks who watch the meeting later on. So for CDA, I'm going to ask for any additions, corrections, questions about the agenda or the minutes from the May 18th meeting. Hearing none, I'm going to accept the minutes as presented. And I'll let workforce, or I'll have Alan go ahead and do workforce.
All right, I got my brownies out of the oven, but while I got that, are there any changes to the minutes that we have from our last meeting in June?
I have one change to request, and that is for the attendance. I was not present on June 15th. I hate to tell on myself, but I was absent.
All right, thank you.
That was a test, Jeremy.
You get a brownie, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even think we have to vote for that one since it's a cell phone there.
Right.
Well done. All right. With one correction, we'll approve those minutes.
All right, I'm going back to the agenda items now. Let's do the first one is 2027 Affordable Housing Fund budget request discussion. Go ahead.
Yep. So following our last joint meeting, Abby and I worked together to put together an updated budget recommendation based on the feedback that we received at that meeting. That would be option B that is in the memo in your packet. Abby's scrolling down. I guess first thing I wanted to provide a quick update that was in the memo is the housing planner position was posted. It has closed as of yesterday, so we're moving forward with hiring for that new position. And so the motion today would only apply to the 2027 budget recommendations. However, because there's been a lot of discussion about longevity or sustainability of the fund, we put together some long-range projections of what different options would look like in terms of option A, which is the one that was presented at the last meeting, where evenly split a lot of the larger costs over the life of the fund, versus option B, front loading a lot of those costs. I think, in my opinion, both of them represent fiscally responsible uses of the funds. It's more of a policy decision of speed with getting certain funds out the door. One of the 1.5 million per year for the revolving loan fund seemed like the sweet spot for a couple different reasons. It was double of the first option, first of all, but then also as we looked at some of the recent TIF awards that have been given to affordable housing developments, that also seem to be in the range of what those have been. So then, by extension, we would assume that this is an amount that could fill the gap for your typical low-income housing tax credit project. So with that, we wanted to present both of these options for the committee to discuss, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
If anyone has anything from CDA, just please go ahead and raise your hand.
Well, I'll kick off the questions, I guess. So if you go back to the page showing the two strategies side by side, so the revolving loan fund is the reference to rental programs. That's the TIF assistance that you're envisioning.
Yes, so the TIF assistance I was mentioning is, in the past, we've incentivized low-income housing tax credit projects via TIF. So the strategy could be used towards those. The strategy could be used towards a more home ownership focused program. City of Madison also has a similar type of program. They alternate each year between a low-income housing tax credit versus a non-low-income housing tax credit RFP. So strategy 1A in the plan was for all three of those types of options, and this funding could go towards any of those three.
When it's presented to council, I would definitely expand on that in the notes to make it clear that what we're talking about would actually be a combination of some money available for those low-income housing developer projects, but also the kind of I don't know if it would be down payment assistance or rehabbing homes, but make it clear that this is a combination.
Great.
And do we think we will have, I'm just thinking if we hire a planner in the next month, will we have a full year of spending for this revolving loan fund? But might it take that person a little longer to get started?
It might take them a little bit longer to get it started with the timelines. But my recommendation would be it doesn't hurt to have the funding allocated for this year. And with the expectation that for any of these strategies, especially with affordable housing, these projects may take a few years.
Yeah.
And the important thing is just to have the help get the word out immediately that this funding is available, and so developers have the lead time to start identifying projects in the city. So we want to establish the funding authority for this year with the qualification that it's not a failure if that money doesn't fully get out the door immediately. It's a, these things take a few years, especially. So I just want to start off with that. Patience is a virtue message.
Jen Cole, I see you.
Yeah, that was one of the items that we did discuss last time we met jointly. So I am recalling and seeing there in the memo that that we were reminded of this, and that we were looking to have, maximum flexibility in 2027 because we are a little uncertain how far along we can get, and then that any funds unspent would, move forward into the next budget cycle. So pleased to see that budget option B reflects that conversation. So, I know it's premature to vote, but that's where I would throw my support.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So David Slowicki, so I have a question on land acquisition line item.
Mhm.
Is it really land acquisition or could that be soft funds going into a tax credit deal?
The way it was written in the plan is for purchasing land. Now that could. I'm having an eye because it could look a couple different ways. So it could go in as, soft funding as part of helping with their land costs. Or it could be us acquiring land and then putting out an RFP for somebody to develop that property. It could look a couple different ways, and the plan gives flexibility for
So the plan does give flexibility if there's a RFP saying we have this fund, these fundings available, developer finds a site and asks for X amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's appropriate for me, but I'm gonna call on Alan.
Yeah, isn't Alan supposed to call on himself?
Yeah, that'll be weird. So I appreciate you checking on me. Agreeing with Jennifer's summary of what we talked about last week of funds would roll into the next week or roll into the next year. And kind of the sentiment was we didn't want this funding to be in a spot where there's an opportunity with the developer and we didn't have the funds available because of the calendar year. So front loading it was a way to say, these are available. We want to move quickly on any opportunities that come up. So I like that.
Josh here. One of the only issue I saw was in your next slide, it talks about like the strategy going forward or like the big picture. This seems like the last year, 11 and 12 and 13, there's not much. If the funds don't roll over, there's not as much to do. But I'm still comfortable with that because I do think front loading it and being able to and actually spending it would be a good thing. So I'm okay with it. Not looking as good year 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Mayor Haniro.
Oh my God.
I'm with Josh. I like the idea of front loading. I'm less concerned about future years because I do think, I think the legislature intended this 1-year extension to give municipalities a chance to actually invest this money, not hold on to it and only spend, the interest that you earn. And with that said, I love seeing the 2.25 million proposed for land acquisition or being set aside for that in year 2. But I'm a little concerned that that's all we would put in, because in out years, there's no more set aside for that. I think we should plan to spend more than that because land will become available. We hope, kind of needed to do some of the things we want to be able to do. So I would feel more comfortable if we perhaps build in some revenue beyond just return on the investment as this money sits. For example, trying to partner with some employers in the area, maybe with the school district to bring in additional funds, leverage what we've got. By bringing in more, and I don't know if the revenue side of it is an indication that we are going to be getting grants. It doesn't look like it. So I think I would expand. I would be aspirational but realistic, and think about that fund balance, the revenue side of it. I also would anticipate pushback from at least one member of council on the plan to use this fund as the source of funding for the housing planner salary in perpetuity instead of in the early years. That's something that we should think about, maybe getting this person off the ground for first 3 or 4 years and then phasing that out and finding another source of general funds to pay for that.
And because I was having trouble hearing so much of the vacuuming. What did you say about after the first few years with the housing planner? Did you say moving that into the general fund budget? Okay. Oh, that or does it going?
Yeah,
They open for open meetings.
And just to respond to those points, I was trying to take the most conservative approach possible in terms of the long-term projections. But I want to, especially for the folks at home, want to heavily emphasize that, these aren't intended to lock us into this is the plan for it, but just to provide a little sense of comfort with, at these budget amounts, if there was no other revenue coming in, and if the fund was fully supporting the housing planner, these would go until when we anticipate the next tip closure to be. So certainly with those other sources of revenue or reducing costs just by moving the housing planner into the general fund, we could be more aggressive on the spending side up front. This was intended to show, a conservative approach to provide some comfort for these increased spending levels.
And I think for the future years discussion, we can continually update that projection over time. Because the only action
Right.
that we're looking at tonight
Yep.
is for the 2027.
Will you be sharing this? I think it would be good to share the projection with council at the appropriate time, just so they know we are thinking ahead. And then finally, I'm just going to mention, I really would like to see tenant rights addressed earlier than 2031, because I know that's a concern for we have a lot of folks who live in apartments and rent even houses, so I would like to see that addressed earlier.
So, Josh here. One of the things, since we're not voting on the future look, it might be nice to actually see an option where you don't have additional funding and an option where you do have funding, so then people can see that that you do have a vision for both. Because we're not voting on it, I think it's fair to have some flexibility, and then you could say at the board meeting, like when the new person's hired, they're gonna help create a strategic plan on how to get those funds, so. That's my recommendation.
I have a question about one of the items there, Kelly Sandball speaking. The home rehab, that doesn't start until later on in the plan, but what is that 25,000 for? Because when I think of home rehab,
A home rehab and 2032.
yeah, like that doesn't seem like an amount that would accomplish.
That's a good point.
I agree.
Yeah.
So either putting more into that bucket or eliminating it, I mean, it doesn't seem like that would even rehab one home.
Yeah, to respond, that was kind of a balancing act of that was ranked as one of the lower priorities within our plan, so still wanted to show what it would look like. Putting these against each other, what funding level could it support at certain levels? Certainly with the housing planner on board, they'd be able to find some more grant funding or things to maybe supplement this, so this would be the amount that project, and again, with 15-year projection, there's a lot of what ifs associated with it, but this is an example of how much the housing fund could support towards that strategy. But again, every year we're going to be updating this, continuing to look forward, and I was trying to strike a balance of providing clarity of what the future could look like under each scenario, while also not boxing in the future housing plan to let them really provide additional recommendations.
This is Katie Nelson. I'm going to ask a follow-up on that, but first I'm going to have Alan go ahead.
My question was, this strategy was based on some of the energy efficiency navigator work. And I'm wondering if we have the numbers for what we've been able to do with the existing program.
So
As a
three
comparison.
A, yeah, to respond, 3A is the energy efficiency program, so that'd be the efficiency navigator there. This is intended more as just general home rehab.
Thanks.
And then the second part of your question, we do have a white paper that was created on the efficiency navigator program in particular, so I can follow up and send that out to the group after.
My follow-up question was on, this is Katie Nelson again. Kelly Sandoval's question about home rehab. Can we think about the energy efficiency programs as sort of like that, sort of in our minds, can we sort of combine those numbers, especially at 2032? And then it's almost like we're starting it in 2027, if you think of the energy efficiency programs almost being a little bit like rehab?
Yeah.
Or am I off base?
The energy efficiency programs are rehab. I think the only difference is, wasn't 3B more for owner occupied housing and the efficiency programs are more for NOAA?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Got it.
Well, so strategy 3A, I guess it is provide funding for rehabilitation of older housing stock with energy efficiency modifications. So that's the energy efficiency, and at $20,000 per unit, that 50,000 isn't going to get us much. We might need to rethink that in future years. And then fixing up naturally occurring affordable housing. That's grants and or loans to low or moderate income property owners. So we didn't specify, is this is just under the strategy of rehabilitating and preserving affordability of existing housing, but it doesn't indicate that it's home, that it's owner occupied. The fact that a lot of it isn't, you know, so something to think about. But I think Kelly raises a good point.
But yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Ben, I've got, I guess, one point in a question, when I reiterate what Mayor Jason about the kind of shifting away a little bit from the conservative view and having the balanced view. Well, what I've, I guess not necessarily in this room, but other I've seen kind of effective, not to create more work for you, but kind of have the, maybe the three scenarios, the conservative, kind of the aggressive, and then the kind of middle one. It kind of draws people's eyes more towards the middle one, right? When you oftentimes when that case, and I wouldn't do it for both A and B, but for landing on B, that might be an option just in there. And then question on 2A support services. Would we be using that for existing residents in workforce housing, or would we just sign it to the new units that came out of this program? Or have we thought about that, I guess?
Not to hamstring the future housing planner, but the plan provides both options for the community to decide for those uses of funds. We could have that kind of lumped into the basket of things that are awarded through an RFP for the revolving loan fund of, we're gonna use this revolving loan fund, and we're also gonna set aside X number of dollars per year to help with supportive services within that unit. Or it could go out as an RFP that is specifically for supportive services, helping more statewide for various affordable housing developments.
The reason I ask is your item A there, where you tied it more to the RFPs for development. It would feel like that number would go along with this, kind of ebb and flow with the spending of 1 and 2 on one, then, right? If we're doing more units, we'd probably do more storage services. But on option 2, if we're using it for system wide, right, then the balance number makes perfect sense. Sure.
Anybody else have any more thoughts, questions? there any action on this tonight?
So tonight we would like a motion to recommend, and these are just presented as options for discussion, doesn't have to be the exact budget amounts in each option. But we'd like a motion to recommend, budget amounts for, and department to submit as part of our budget request,
Just for 2027.
just for 2027.
Okay, well, for CDA, I move to recommend to the Finance and Personnel Committee and the Common Council option B for an affordable housing budget for 2027 in an amount not to exceed $3,946,900.
Anyone second?
I'll second. This is Oaks.
Thank you, Kari. Any other discussion from CDA on this? If not, I will, all in favor of recommending to
Finance and
Finance,
Personnel,
Personnel and
Common Council,
Council, to recommend option B, budget option B, not to exceed $3,946,900. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes for CDA.
For workforce housing, I recommend the same recommendation.
All right. There is a motion to recommend to the Finance Committee and Common Council option B for budget year 2027.
I second that.
Jeremy seconds. And we'll do a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passes.
All right, moving on to,
Actually,
oh, sorry.
Workforce housing, yeah.
workforce housing can adjourn.
That's it
Yeah.
for workforce housing.
Thanks, CDA.
Thanks, CDA.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
For coming in, everyone. Thanks for zooming.
Yeah, next time. Yeah. Will we make you the host?
Yeah, and next
Okay.
time workforce housing should have its new student member. Will be very exciting. Around here. Great.
Like the high school student? Or-
Yes.
Oh, that's really great.
For CDA, just while we're getting settled here, there's a printout draft budget, and then there's also a printed copy of the agenda. If that's helpful. I'm going to stop share for a minute so that I can
Get moved down.
pull up the Excel spreadsheet that this is based on. I always forget that I can't share directly from here onto here, so bear with me a minute. Thank you, Scott.
See you all.
Bye, Scott.
Bye, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
All right. Are you cheering this one?
No,
Why
so
isn't it on the
I received it just didn't make it to the agenda because we should have met or bring hold of the meeting last month.
I see.
I apologize. I thought that it had already been done, so
I really had it too.
that's where I am right now. Okay, download this. Share it here. This continuing small meeting. Okay. Okay. So
All right, everyone from CDA still with us?
we have 5 members. So apologies for the timing on this. I would have liked to have gotten this out with the packet, but we didn't have our budget spreadsheets or financial reports until between 3 and 4 p.m. today, so I wasn't able to put this into our normal format. But I wanted, because of the kind of complicated nature of this year's planning for the CDA budget, I wanted to make sure that I gave the CDA a preview of what we're thinking. Your workforce housing committee meeting has adjourned. You're welcome to stay for CDA.
Sorry, you were great.
All right, well. It's because I had another meeting. Yeah. Commission on Aging, so, all right.
Enjoy your night.
Thanks.
So I wanted to give a chance to preview this because the next meeting that we'll have for the CDA is not until August 13th. And while our department budget is not technically due until August 21st, I will be out that week. So I am planning to submit everything by the end of the day, August 14th, if possible.
Wow.
So if things happen at the last minute or if we need to have a special meeting, that is also an option. Okay, so I kind of wanted to put together this plan for 2027 proposed. The biggest changes and the ones that I'm seeking some feedback on are the items that we are going to be moving to the general fund. Bill Burns, our finance director, gave a really nice budget presentation. There is an opportunity with the TID closure to move some of the items that the CDA has been funding that are not traditionally funded through a CDA and should be funded by the general operating budget off this year because of the levy increase that we're going to get through the TID closure. And he was targeting around 100,000. And so the items that I would be proposing that are least compliant with a typical CDA's operation are the downtown snow removal, and that has been transitioning out of the CDA budget over the last 3 years already. That would move the final 17,500 to the general fund. The banners and holiday lights, which would be 20,000. The labor for downtown maintenance, we had budgeted it in 2026 at $20,000, but because the Parks and Rec department is doing most of the labor now, I expect that we would only need about 15,000 in outside services, but I want to talk with the Parks and Rec director about that. The biggest item would be the downtown landscape and maintenance item. This is the budget item that includes cleaning for Stonehorse Green restrooms daily, trash removal, as well as all of the planters. And I'm anticipating that that's going to be around $50,000. So those are the 4 items that I would recommend we move out. They total $102,500. I had a chance to touch base briefly with our finance director this afternoon, and he suggested that the city may also want to consider transitioning the employee fee or fund out of the CDA, maybe not this year, but looking to transition that in the future. That's our placemaking planner position. 60% is funded through the CDA and the other 40% through the general fund. So that's a discussion that he was going to raise with the city administrator as well as the mayor during budget discussions. But for the time being, what I'm proposing is moving those 4 items out, which would equate to about $102,500. The items that are shown in red are related to personnel, and those are not exact costs right now. Those are still in negotiations with health insurance and dental insurance, et cetera. So those could change, probably not significantly. The biggest other changes to the budget are related to Stonehorse Green programming, which Jolynn is going to jump on. That's actually item number. Well, actually, that would fall under this agenda item. She's staffing a landmarks commission meeting, but I'm gonna shoot her a text right now and see if they're about to wrap up. Because I wanted her to go over the programming for Stonehorse Green in a little bit more detail with what her proposal is. And then the items in yellow are highlighted because one is interest on investments. Oh, actually, Jolyn is here. Perfect timing.
I see no yellow, sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at an old printed copy, so my apologies. Right here, interest on investments is 17.5. This would actually reflect actual interest. It was 29,000 in that we actually received in 2025, and Bill estimated it would be around 29,000 this year. But he cautioned that interest rates could go down, and so he wanted us to plan for between 15 and 20,000. So I split the difference on that one. And then the other item that is still in flux is the Middleton Station parking lease. We did get updated rent rolls from them, and there's a clause within our MOU that allows us to increase the rent that they pay on the parking stalls based on their rent rolls. So we're doing those calculations right now. Chair, is now a good time for Jolyn to kind of do a deeper dive on the programming piece?
Yes, please, thanks.
Okay, Jolyn, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Can you go over the Stonehorse Green programming piece?
Sure. In my memo, I've made a request that is basically the same as last year in terms of the total being $115,000 planned for our season. Assuming a similar level of programming with the night markets, the farmers markets, Stroll and Middleton Jazz, Stars Hollow Days, the larger expanded Light the Green holiday market, kind of Chris Kindle market, all of those events again taking place, which are the largest chunk of the budget. Did keep in there, and I think Abby, I might have sent you the wrong information. I was in my car at the time. The goal to receive about $15,000 from a grant for destination marketing. So the main programming grant is really more like $100,000 grant. And then if we were to receive this additional destination marketing grant, that would increase the budget to that $115,000 level. Yeah, I think the main change here would be I've asked if the CDA would consider increasing the kind of hard money that is put toward our public programs from $4,000 to $20,000, which takes some of the lift off of having to rely on a lot of our programming this year is being paid through revenues from the vendor fees, on top of sponsorship and grant writing that I've done. It feels like their fees should go toward the events where they are involved, but that some of our other public programs that don't involve markets, it would make sense to have other revenues or other sources of funding that cover those a little bit more. And so that's, I think, the main summary of the request this year.
Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, does the grant require a match?
No, it's just that all of the funds for that $15,000, they can't be spent on our programming from the GEM grant. It all has to go toward the destination marketing expenses, which would be advertising, outside of our area by some particular distance. Whereas the destination marketing grants that we receive from Visit Middleton sometimes have a portion that can go toward programming and a portion that goes toward the marketing costs.
Okay. I'm just thinking of, as you're exploring other future grant options, there are often match requirements. So I think from that perspective, increasing our funding towards programming would go a long way, probably to help meet that match. Especially if they don't require, if they don't allow in-kind matching, meaning like your time spent, the city, your salary, volunteer time, that kind of thing. So,
actually, I'm remembering that I did just misspeak there. They do actually require a match, and it changes from year 1 to year 2 for existing events. So, for example, with Stars Hollow Days having happened for 2 years prior to me joining, and then us having it last year, we would be an existing event now. So we would be eligible for 2 years of the existing event funding, and there is a decreasing amount. So I believe that it can cover, I want to say it's 75% of the funds in the year one and maybe 50% in year two, but they do allow it to be in kind. And so I was assuming that we would not actually have to put dollars so much behind it, or that we could use the destination marketing funds that we get from Visit Middleton perhaps as part of the match as well. But they
Yep.
do encourage us to use in-kind matches from our media sources.
Okay. But that's existing grant funds, not potentially future grant funds where, you know, as we may want to have, we want to show more city support to increase like our potential match support.
Well, I think to have these larger events that attract more people, and also even to attract sponsors, I think having, knowing that we have guaranteed funding, so they're going to go forward at a certain level is really helpful.
Yeah. Are you thinking though about doing any, right, with an increase, I think we would want to be able to demonstrate a return on investment to the city. And so I don't know if it's, working then with the business community, the chamber, Visit Middleton to, I don't know, do surveys to see if increased support for programming, increased volume of attendance at programming is bringing like beneficial to their community. So showing that there is like economic growth because of this and that the city investment is worthwhile and kind of can be looked at a little bit as a subsidy to some of our economic development. So
Absolutely.
It's a great idea. I'm glad Jen brought that up because I was thinking the same thing. Again, I'm always thinking of trying to demonstrate to council why this is a good investment and having that connection to, you know, what's it doing for our downtown, I think is great.
We did something similar one year for the Art Walk, where we surveyed all the businesses within a certain range, and we actually had different thresholds, and we asked them, how much did your business increase? So maybe we could kind of use that similar format that we used for the Art Walk.
Go ahead, Jen.
and we could actually do like a user survey. So at actual events in Stonehorse Green, like I'm thinking like sandwich board that has a QR code to take a survey, and it can just be a rolling survey that we conduct. And so that we are just getting attendee feedback, not about that programming specifically, but about generally, like how often do you come to Stonehorse Green? How did you hear about these events? You know, just so that we are getting like some kind of feedback so that we can build in some continuous improvement and really, again, demonstrating to council and our taxpayers why an additional funds would be, right? I'm fully in support of additional funds, but I think we have to, like, in order to maintain that or continue to ask for more funds, we've got to be able to make a case for why it's important and why we're spending more.
Great suggestion.
I have some questions. What are chalet rentals?
So the chalet rentals, we have been talking to Event Essentials. They provide the chalets for the what was previously the New Glarus Christmas market, and now I think they've moved it to Verona. And so they have ordered from Europe these 16 chalets, and they are somewhat expensive to rent, but they are very cute. People like them. They provide a nice secure, because it can be locked down way for the vendors to keep their items on site. They can put heaters in, lights, custom signage. And what we found is that we wanted to do that this year, but the vendors felt like it was cost prohibitive. In New Glarus, sorry, I think before I meant it was Paoli before. The New Glarus market actually owns theirs. What I heard is that those chalets were donated to them. And so they are able to offer them at a much lower price. And so I was hoping that we could try to get closer to that price through getting enough sponsorships and other funds to offset what the individual vendor is paying, instead of asking the vendor to pay 100% of the cost, because I think it really would add to the atmosphere. We've had some other community members say that they would like to have that kind of market here, and I've had to say, I'm sorry, this year we're only doing tents. But yeah, if we could put some of our other sponsorship dollars toward that and be able to use CDA funding towards some of our other summer programming, like our concerts, that would help us.
Jolene, I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it. Are there limited numbers of these? How many?
Well, so they currently have 16. They are willing to, if a community like us were to come on board and say that we're committed to using them on an annual basis, they would order more from that company, and it would take about 3 months. So we've been in touch over the summer to see if I, had anyone fill out the application for this fall's market who had expressed interest. And still so far, I think it's just been too much because we're asking them right now to pay $1,500 to have a chalet. And that's quite a bit for a local artist. I think some of the markets, PLA and for sure they have more national groups coming in who perhaps can afford that, kind of what they're selling. And that could be a future for us. But right now, if we're supporting local vendors, what I've heard is that they feel like it's too much.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get it closer to 500.
They must be a little warmer now than a tent as well.
Yes.
Santa, we have 2 appearances by Santa.
So we've expanded it this year. And so next year I would want to expand it, keep it at the expanded level of a whole weekend for this market. Some markets are even 3 days or longer. So Santa coming twice. I thought it would be nice for Santa to be here when the reindeer are here, as well as during the normal, so on Saturday night, he makes his appearance with the fire engine, as we traditionally do in the photo ops, but then to have him come back during the day when it's less chaotic. Santa was, he was overwhelmed by children last year.
Okay, I'm glad you brought it up.
He was
because
what?
Overwhelmed. It wasn't safe for a huge crowd. Yeah,
For Santa?
I really want to see more direction and guidance and roping off a pathway to Santa, because 1, it's like a cluster, and 2, it doesn't really give kids that chance to have like one-on-one with Santa, families to get the picture that they're looking for. So I was gonna talk to you, Jolene, about trying to improve the Santa visit experience. So that's, yes.
Yeah, so our intention this year is to have a nice photo op for Santa with lighting and all the things ready to go so that families can come in and get their photos. But I think also knowing that there's a second time to see Santa and also the reindeer, I think might help some families to say, I can wait and not press forward as they did that night.
And so is the reindeer and Santa event during the day on Saturday, or which day is that?
The reindeer will be on Sunday because it's a little bit less expensive for us to get the reindeer on Sunday.
They don't charge overtime.
They are busy superstars.
And surge pricing.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, and this could be for future discussion, but I have been thinking more and more about the idea of trying to identify a place that could serve as sort of like the Stonehorse Green in the off season, so that we can continue some events in the winter time. And I don't know what's going on with the Middleton Market at the Aviary, but that seems like it could be a space to have, just a band and some refreshments. And then people could also bring their own or whatever. So in the future, I think let's have a conversation about how do we make that happen.
I'm thrilled to hear that because I've been having daydreams about Middleton having a public market / event space. So, I'll be looking forward to talking about that.
Great.
Anything else, or are we ready for action on the 2027 CDA budget?
And you don't have to take action on this tonight. I just kind of wanted to get feedback because I don't want to And I would like to email this out to the CPA after the meeting so that you can, I had it on for action, but that was when I hoped that I would be able to get it to you sooner. And so because you haven't had a chance to look at it, I will, in more detail, I will send it out after the meeting and we can talk about it at our next meeting.
Go ahead, Kari.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I just was gonna thank Abby for like the good conversation with staff and really helping us understand that it's probably time to offload some of these expenses, the year after year, seeing the snow removal come out of our budget. It's just, ugh. So I'm just really happy to see like the reorientation toward, I think the things that we're really supposed to be focusing on and doing. And I also just quickly wanted to say that I really appreciate sort of like Jolene's future thinking. The St. Paul has a really big Christmas market above Union Station, and I was there 2 winters ago, and it's a huge event, and it enlivens that whole neighborhood, which is a little bit kind of not necessarily someplace you might bring a family in the middle of winter that time of year, but it really picks up that whole neighborhood while that's going on there. And so it's a little bit daunting to think about spending this additional money to grow something that isn't quite there yet. But I think we've seen sort of again and again at Stonehorse Green that when we kind of think big, that the events fill in for themselves after some amount of time. I don't think anything has really flopped that folks have committed to. So it's just fun for me and exciting to see this reorientation.
Kari, I'm really glad you brought that up because I wanted to thank Abby as well. I think this is long overdue, this little shift around. I have one quick question before we move on. I didn't ask about the Monster Mash Bash. I don't know it. Jolene, can you just give a quick scoop on that?
Sure, yes. That's sort of our contribution to what is it called? Spooky Stroll. Spooky
yes.
Stroll.
Okay.
Yeah. It might be slightly less than that. 500 was the amount that I was quoted from Francis Medrano for coming to do something similar to what Papa Cabina did last year, but Francis has done this for different events that I've worked on in the past over the last 5 or 6 years, and he is really good at getting both young and old engaged in dancing. And I thought that maybe we could see if it might be a little bit more successful. I think people enjoyed Papa Cabina, but he seemed a little bit more almost shy with the audience, or just I don't know. It's hard to describe. I just felt like he didn't quite draw people out quite as much as I had hoped last year. So I was hoping that Francis might be successful in that.
Awesome. You're really good at finding these amazing performers, and I really, really appreciate that. Okay. Anybody else? Anything? I feel comfortable moving forward when it's time. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on.
Thanks, Jolene.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jolene.
And
You're
she
super
will
busy.
stay for the next couple items.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So our next item is agenda item 3, request for event partnership for Bar 3 and other partners, community fitness pop-up in early August.
This August. It's very close. Get your gym shoes out. All right, Jolene, are you able to update us on this one?
Sure. Right now, I think it's just Bar 3. They had hoped to have you all discuss this last month in the council meeting. That's why it's so close. So, but they're aware that the meeting was moved to July, so that they would have a little bit less time to market it. But the interesting thing is that I have received a number of requests in the last couple of months from fitness or dance, movement related businesses that would like to do these one-time or multi-session free events. And they're obviously, marketing events for them, but they're also pitching them as, free community activities. So I think that, in 2027 and beyond, we could think about having a more structured way to handle that, such as I could organize a series of, say, Saturday mornings, we're going to have 8 weeks and different businesses can each sign up for 1 week, or something to make it a little bit more fair. But right now, these who have taken the initiative, if you would like to approve them to use the green, that's what they're requesting, is to be able to pop up and do these free events.
Great. Just an observation, I think in the initial time after Stone Horse was open, I think we're reluctant to do any of this stuff that would promote one business. But I do think we are evolving. And so I'm curious to know what members are thinking.
Kelly Sandoval speaking. I do appreciate that the detail here says they would invite fellow Middleton business partners to participate and set up booths and share products and services.
Other thoughts?
I like the idea. This is Mayor Haniro. I like the idea, and I think we could, as Jolynn said, they approached the city with this idea. It could be a pilot to see how well the community responds, and get some lessons learned from it. I do wonder, what is our policy for the use of Stone Horse Green, and does something like this fit the policy? Because I thought we don't allow it to be rented out by others, correct? So is this the city partnering with Bar 3 to do this by providing the venue?
And that is kind of why they're requesting, is because they have to
Has to be
seek
sponsored.
approval for a partnership with the CDA, and I'll pull up it's not really detailed how it's written, but I think it's actually under the parks. I believe. Here we go. And I think it was intentionally made flexible when we first opened, but maybe after, maybe this is something that we should be looking at changing. Let me see here. Here we go.
Well, while she's looking, I'll just say horses and carriages is in our ordinance, and that would be perfect for a little winter fest.
Oh, yeah, it's cool. Jennifer, go ahead.
Flopping around.
Yeah, I appreciate, right, like the event's free, it's wellness. I think that's in alignment with some of our like larger goals for our city. However, right, like I would be more inclined to want to figure out how we can do open public exercise with Parks and Rec. Because, right, is Bar 3, are they gonna do this like continuously, or is this like a one-time event to try to, right, I'm thinking about it as a marketing opportunity for them. Getting people engaged is great. Driving traffic downtown driving traffic to downtown is great. But is it just once so they can get folks loving their exercise program and drumming up more business? So I don't know, right, that we are a marketing tool, if that's the case. Whereas like if this is something they're gonna do as a community service that's ongoing.
Yeah, and I don't think they're planning for ongoing, and I remember early with the green, we had outreach from Peter Kraus Fitness, that's right across the street, and then one other one, do you remember? There was another local fitness related business, And that's kind of how the idea evolved for like Wellness Wednesdays for 8 weeks at the exact same time. You're going to get to try 8 different programs like karate, bar, yoga, whatever it may be. So then it was more a city event and capturing that and having a little bit more oversight.
Kari, go ahead.
I just had a question. I think Harbor Athletic, they were doing it during the pandemic, and I don't know if they still are doing like yoga and wellness activities. Is that at Marshall Park or is that at a Middleton Park?
It was in their parking lot.
No, but they also were doing something. I bet it was Marshall Park, so it wasn't City of Middleton. I just was wondering how that all came to be.
Or
But I
was
bet
it Lakeview? I think, did they do some in the Lakeview Park too?
I don't know if they were at Lakeview or not. I know as I'm talking, I'm remembering that they were maybe more over at Marshall Park because they sometimes also do like yoga on SUPs and partner with.
I would say though that like reserving space at a park that anyone can
Yeah.
reserve space at is different.
Yes, yeah, I know this is true. This is Kari Oak, sorry. If I could just also quickly say that
Uh-oh, you muted yourself.
yeah,
Kari.
I was trying to lower my hand, I'm sorry. Wasn't there like a dance event sometime or something where we thought it was a little over the edge? At least, as Alder Nelson was saying, at least with where our thinking was a couple of years ago.
Was that the line dancing?
Maybe?
Jolyn might remember that.
That's a ballet program that we put money toward, which I was wondering about
That's
because it
smoked
got
out.
canceled, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the ballet is looking to reschedule in August. So fortunately they were not charged for the stage rental yet, if we can reschedule it. The other one, the line dancing, I believe that it was declined because by the time it was taken up, it was too close to the date that it would happen, and there wasn't a sense that there would be enough time to market it and have attendance.
Yeah, I think they just went to compound race.
And can I ask, has this company submitted their special event permit application?
I don't believe that they need one for this because it would be fewer than 200 people and we're not closing any streets.
I really can see both things, right? We want to help our local businesses. It's part of why we have our Stillmore screen. And then, but how do we decide who gets to do it? I like Abby's idea. If we're gonna do this, it's just a one-time 8-week thing or 4-week thing or whatever, and it's just Middleton Fitness Studios that want to participate. But I'm also completely in agreement with let's not be their marketing tool. Kari, go ahead.
Oh yeah, thank you. I just also, I think there are a lot of people who participate in various activities at Stonehorse Green and they're giving their time, but it's also marketing opportunities for, the face painting you do that you might want to, anytime people do that, I think it's okay to have a dual reason why you're there. I do really like the idea of putting out a call, sort of maybe more equitably to be able to invite all local businesses. Like good on these guys for having this idea. That's great. But we also can have some agency and control over how we decide this space could best be used for the community, I guess. But I agree, Alder Nelson, that I can really see both sides.
Yeah, before I ask Jen to speak, we could argue that the bands get to market themselves too. There, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I mean, any of the vendors, right? Any of the vendors that come for Pride, come for
Yeah.
m- the market, right? It's all promotion. That is the benefit to them for participating. But they are coming as part of a planned event where they're invited to participate, or there's like an open sign up, like with Pride, that like vendors can select to sign up. And so we're not picking and choosing which we're not benefiting one organization over another because it's an open or it's planned. Whereas, so I think if it's, if we've already said no to one of the fitness groups, because it was marketing, then but I think, right, it becomes the idea of how do we do a series that then we invite all of the athletic and exercise offerings, right? So that there could be some equity behind which businesses get to then come and use Stonehorse Green. I think, it's a little bit of a slippery slope.
Yeah.
They come to us versus us going out to that community to engage with them.
Do we host a fitness weekend where they have to have a booth, just like the night market? Or a fitness day where they have to have a booth, and we have time slots where
Yeah.
they can all take their turn on the stage and give people a taste of what they offer.
I like that idea a lot
Yeah.
better than this. And I feel bad because,
Yeah.
again, kudos to them for having the
Yeah.
idea. But certainly, I'm sorry, when Abby, you were talking, and I didn't pick up on, we have rejected someone
Yes,
proposing
we
something.
have.
similar.
I believe we did.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly, but my recollection is we said, no, we're going to be hiring a position and maybe we can consolidate this into an event where we can give everyone the opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, that cinches it for me.
And knowing that studio is right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Also a yoga thing we denied.
So there has
Jen, I
been
see you.
yoga. I think the Parks and Rec department has done yoga as part of the shop and stroll.
Yeah.
So like
I feel like
stretch in
there's
the
some-
morning before you go
Yeah,
shopping all day, but that's also a city department.
yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I think it's about inviting these folks who come to us with this idea about helping plan it, and then they become a community group, right? Then it's open, it's shared. They're going to engage with their colleagues and their network so that they can maybe bring in all, so then the idea is then we're not favoring one competitor over another, right? So.
But what does that do for their immediate request?
Well, maybe that's the response, like, no, but we've had this request similarly before, so we'd love to work with you on planning something that has equity across our other exercise businesses, and would love your help in planning that. I mean,
Yep. I love that idea, and I really like the idea of trying to involve our Parks and Rec department in helping with this, because we can feature some of our programming.
It's a wonderful idea.
National Wellness Month is observed throughout August.
Oh,
So maybe there's still time for something in late August, although you're probably pretty slammed.
Jolynn is
Jolynn.
Jillian, I'd love your thoughts on that, on what we're kind of coming to.
Yeah, no, this sounds great. It sounds like in line what I was thinking of for next year anyway. So I think that if you would prefer that we hold off on doing any of these and just letting people come straight into this more structured system, that seems definitely more fair for everyone to have that shot. And maybe even we could give priority to businesses who haven't done it the previous year. If we have limited spots, and I'm sure there are more than 8 companies in the area that would be eligible. And so, if demand were to be high, maybe it won't be, but I think that there are ways we can do that just to make sure everyone feels like they get a fair shot, and also to work with Parks and Rec.
Sounds great. I'd like to ask for a motion on this item.
This is Jen Cole. I might need some help on the wording. I move to I don't know, decline the request. However, with an extension of an invitation to help plan a broader city sponsored event that engages all of Middleton's exercise community to provide an equitable opportunity to share what kind of exercise is available in the city. Whether that's this year or next year. That's a really long motion.
This is Kari, and I would maybe like to offer a friendly amendment or a qualifier, which is I could see, let's not lock into saying it would be a single event with a bunch of booths versus a weekly event, because I could see some benefit to the community of having an hour free exercise for 8 weeks in a row compared to like a one-stop shop wellness fair. And I guess I would like to talk about that, what that programming might look like before we lock ourselves in this motion.
So the amended motion would be
a future event to gather a discussion about a future event, future event or series of events showcasing wellness opportunities in the Middleton community.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any other discussion on that?
I just thought of one more idea to throw out there. The school district hosts family wellness days for like all ages. And I wonder if maybe that could also be a partnership so that we're not having to do the whole lift of the planning. We could work with, I think it's Khalees who's in that position at MCPASD, and maybe it could be a shared event.
I love that too. And I don't think that's inconsistent with the motion that's
Right, it's not. That's great. Good add. Okay. Anything else? All those in favor of the denying bar 3, however, declining bar 3, however, inviting them to help us plan future fitness events
or series,
signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you for that one. Item 4, discussion and recommendation on Stonehorse Green picnic table and shade structure projects. Oof, yes.
Shade sounds great.
Doesn't it?
Do you want me to dive in?
Yes.
Love that.
I was just trying to get to the right page. Sorry for the stall.
So the first is kind of a two-part memo. The first being the picnic tables themselves. We were, exploring different possible picnic tables, and then a couple weeks ago, one of them was broken badly and had to be removed. There were some sharp ends to the boards, and it felt like we should probably go ahead and do this sooner rather than later. So I have recommended some tables. They are a plastic but wood look table with the suggested the cedar color that I think would blend in pretty well with the park, not stand out, like a bright color might, but also not be so dark that it would get very hot during the summer, although I'm sure it still does heat up. And also by switching the shape from the long 8-foot tables to these square tables, which are roughly 4x4 plus the benches, it would be easy to put umbrellas over these to offer a little bit of shade temporarily. These are less expensive than the ones that Parks has used in the past. So they'd be a little bit easier for people to slide them around because people do move them around quite a bit on the green. So yeah, that's basically it. They're pretty affordable, and so there would still be plenty of budget left to buy umbrellas and stands for those. Obviously, the umbrellas would need to be replaced from time to time, but we would invest in some more of a commercial quality umbrella.
I love the thought you've put into that, Jolene. This is Katie. I love that you've made them ADA accessible. I love the smaller tables for moving them around. Really, really nice thought. Can you I guess anybody else have any other thoughts or questions? Then I want to talk about the shade study.
A quick question, I guess Kelly Sandoval speaking, and maybe it said in there is, would this be the same number roughly or same amount of space taken up by the tables?
It's quite a bit more. We actually don't have very many tables. We only had 5, and now since one broke, we only have 4 tables there. So there's a lot of just empty space. So it would greatly expand our seating. But I also, the other reason I like the smaller tables as a possibility was because they still seat 8 people, but it feels more compact because there's not as much just like long table. And when I see people use those long tables, a lot of times it is only a couple or a group of 4, and then you have the rest of that table that no one else wants to use because they don't necessarily want to sit with strangers. Like, we'd like them to be neighborly, but we can't insist. So it feels like we could have a larger number of tables without having, when we're thinking about 10 of those large picnic tables, I felt like that would really fill the green.
Yeah. Jen, go ahead.
How difficult are these? You may not know, but are they really heavy? Are they going to be really hard to move, or they would be able to be moved like a standard picnic table?
So these are, I think 185 pounds. I think I put it in the memo.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Sorry.
The ADA ones might be slightly less since they're missing the one side of the bench. So we were trying to stay under 200 pounds. That's not nothing to move, but I think you can slide that. We could certainly look to see if there are wheeled options, but I don't know if that would just cause more breakage and kind of dragging wheels through the grass.
Do you know the weight of a typical picnic table is? Is it listed that I missed?
Yeah, our current picnic tables.
Yeah,
Well, it felt like
yeah.
the other ones were extremely heavy. I remember I was thinking that we wouldn't be able to lift them.
Yeah.
On our round tables are super heavy.
Yes.
Where are the round ones?
The shiny ones with the metal seats, metal tables,
Oh.
metal seats, they're like unbelievable. They're like Thor's hammer. Move it, it doesn't, but
I think that when we selected those, we were concerned people would try to take them and put them on their patio. Whereas for some reason, I'm feeling like it's less of a concern with
with the
these.
picnic tables.
I don't know how much those ones we have now, but it says the average picnic table weighs anywhere between 80 and 250.
May I ask how this one table has come to be broken? Was it just natural causes or vandalism by any chance?
Oh, we got those tables as hand-me-downs, but the Parks Department got rid of them when they redid the Lakeview Park shelter, so they were already on their last leg. I think it just kind of rot and then break.
I mean, I had definitely noticed that there, and I don't think it's the only one, but that there was damage to the wood. But there was an incident that weekend. The same weekend we had 2 other things get damaged. So I'm not sure if there was a little bit of rough usage that weekend because our speakers were dented and our fire extinguisher box, the cover was broken. So, there might have been some people, running around a bit, maybe standing on the tables.
Okay. Yeah, all right. And the picnic tables, we will get the ADA version?
That's a discussion item for you. I put in my memo 20% ADA, which was 8 and 10 and 2, but you could choose a different number of ADA tables. They're not that different in price, so it doesn't impact the overall cost significantly. But I think that the requirement is only something like 5%, so it's quite low. I've seen other, I think it might be national parks say 20%. So
Okay.
I think that assuming we don't have our own standard policy, I think that you could decide what you feel would be best for the community.
I'm just thinking 2 things. Well, actually, it's the same thing, just different sides of the same coin. It looks from the picture that you could slide 2 tables together and make a larger table, correct? Which is good. I like giving people that option. I don't like the possibility that all the ADA seats would be taken up by people, like get rid of them by combining tables. So that's just something to think about. If we got more than the 20%, then I think that would increase the likelihood that there would be 20% seats available for people using wheelchairs.
Good deal, a lot. Kari, go ahead.
Oh, that's a really, really good point, Mayor. And I just was also going to say that the signage wouldn't last forever, but we could certainly affix some kind of signage to the open side, indicating that that's what that's there for. It's not to choose your own adventure and make a giant picnic table necessarily.
Tris.
Kylie, our Parks and Recreation Director, shared with me that they're moving to all ADA accessible for their picnic tables in their parks because they have their crew moving them from park to park, and it would take more time for their crew to count them all up and figure out if they were compliant each time. Decided to make it an across the board.
I like that.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a little more expensive, but more flexibility and.
I mean, you do lose, if you don't have people using wheelchairs at the events, then you sort of just lose that side of the table in terms of seating that's available.
Yeah.
But we also do have those random Genesee single chairs that could pull up to an end if you're not putting two tables together.
Actually, if we sort of set them up that way with it, I want it to be very clear that it's for wheelchair use, but.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Jennifer.
No, you were reading my mind. It's, there are chairs milled about, someone could move them closer if they need to.
I like the idea that, I'm sorry, this is Katie. If we kept them all ADA, they are lighter to move around. And they might be easier to pull up against maybe the cement retaining walls if we needed the open green space in the middle. They could go a little more flush up against the outer edge of the area. It's kind of feeling good.
Yeah.
Do we want an action on this? Or do we want to recommend?
This is Kari, and I just was going to barge in and ask if Jolene has any further thoughts, having done a little more research about all ADA. Do you have any reservations?
No, I think you've brought up all the points. I think that you would lose some seating. Those other chairs are kind of heavy to move around, and not sure what we were going to do with those long term. And we also don't have the problem the Parks has. We're not taking our tables anywhere else, so we're not going to change our numbers or have that. So I'm not sure it's necessarily going to create any efficiencies or save any staff time to do that, but certainly the more accessible we are, the better. So whatever you decide is fine with me.
All right, I'm open to any and all motions, ideas.
Maybe you could split the difference and make it four
Four
accessible and
Four
four.
accessible and safe.
Go ahead, Kari.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
All right.
4 and 6. Yep.
Want to make a motion on that?
Sure. I would move that we approve the purchase of 10 of the Barco Board Square picnic tables that Jolene has identified, with 6 being the standard picnic tables and 4 being wheelchair accessible.
Anyone second?
I'll second.
Great. Kelly Sandoval seconds. Any other discussion on the picnic tables for Stonehorse Green? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Awesome. The motion passes. We've got one more item.
Well, we have the shade structure too.
Oh, sorry.
You were excited about that.
So you need to leave in 5 minutes, don't you?
I let Kylie know that I might be late.
Okay.
So shade structure.
Shade structure.
Okay, so last year, you budgeted $10,000 for the potential shade structure at Stonehorse Green. We also received $5,000 from Visit Middleton to support that, but that was based on a much larger request. They only partially funded it. We would need in the many tens of thousands of dollars really to build a larger shade structure. For $10,000 to $15,000, you could only do something very small, like a 8-foot little shade. That's just to purchase it. Then you still have the installation costs. So it seemed like we needed to raise some more money. So we've tried to we wrote a grant to the AARP, I think it was. And unfortunately did not get that. And so I think we would really have to do kind of a small capital campaign or fundraising campaign to do a larger project like this. So the question today is whether or not it would make sense to go forward with working with the original designers of the green to do a shade study and help us to see what that would look like through their modeling and consider creative options that aren't just structures. They have ideas about plantings, like short-term and long-term solutions to shade for the green. And have a more formal plan for how we want to proceed and then decide about fundraising and make this a little longer project, especially if we're able to use our tables umbrellas to kind of give us some immediate relief.
Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
I like that idea. Yeah, it seemed like 10,000, anytime I see 10,000 proposed in the budget, then it's a placeholder, right? Because we don't really know how much it's going to cost. And having been at Pride this past June, it occurred to me we need a shade structure for the stage as well, because any events that are taking place with a performer on that stage, towards the end of the day, early evening, the sun is right on them. It's still hot and it's right in their eyes. So I think having a study done, we can look at how do we shade the performers on stage so that we don't have, somebody experiencing heat stroke.
Which we did.
Yeah.
Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that I do agree with the study because I think if as Jolyn indicated, it's going to be more than we have on hand to put in any shade, and we'd have to do a capital campaign, and that study just helps us with that and getting donors or sponsors, because it makes a case for really why it costs what it costs. And it allows us to demonstrate that we've looked at all options and that I've identified the one that's best for us. And that's based on expertise and not just a lot of independent research. So.
Yeah. Anything else? All right. Go ahead and I will open up for a motion if anyone wants to make one.
I will move to approve conducting a shade study with, is it Psyche Design?
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
I'll second that.
So motion and second, any other discussion on the shade study? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much for that. Now we'll go on to item number 5, Stonehorse Green AV upgrade budget request discussion. Do we need Jolyn on this or do we need?
Yes, this is Jolyn as well.
Sorry, I just turned off my camera instead of unmuting myself. So this one is a little bit tricky. I know you're at the end of your meeting, but the basic situation is that the way that the AV system was set up is not really how anybody uses it. And so we'd like to make it work a little bit better because currently we can't even use the system to have like stereo sound. We're using, we don't have any left-right inputs except for if we were to go into this box in the ground. You know, we can't really control the monitors that were provided, you know, with individual performers like to have certain mixes that go to what they hear. Sometimes they only want to hear vocals or a certain instrument or things like that. And right now, only the mains go through the monitors. Those actually weren't even working until April. They had never been turned on since it was constructed. So the monitors have been all this time. Whenever we tried to plug them in, we thought, well, how come they aren't working? Well, they just, whatever happened when the original construction happened, it just never got activated. So there's things like that that we're discovering that we haven't really been using the system at its full capacity. So we have two proposals, one, and they're relatively similar in cost. One would be to work with Fearings who installed the system originally, and just kind of fix it to work a little bit better. The other would be to switch directions. So I don't know how much you all know about the sound system, but right now it's controlled by a system called Crestron. It's kind of a proprietary software system that can, you know, make sure that we can, it has a touch screen where we can select different options from what we're doing on stage or, you know, how we plug into the inputs. And then, you know, when we use the DVD to do projectors. For the way we use it, it's a little bit of overkill. And the same thing happened where I used to work at Arts and Literature Laboratory. We invested in a QSYS system, and technically we never really use it there. We just use our mixer and sort of more manual controls. And so the second one from Audio Contractors would be kind of to put us in that situation where we're basically using the mixer that we've purchased to run sound and you know, operating through that. In the end, you kind of get the same where you have the plug and play where people who don't have as much experience can just plug their devices, their cables into the walls of the stage and use it. I think there would be some benefits perhaps to taking Crestron out because Crestron does limit you. I found it really hard to find anybody. That's why there's only two estimates here. People either say that they don't work with systems that someone else built or they don't use Crestron. So Fearings may be one of the few in this local area to be able to help us maintain it. Where if we don't have that, then anyone in AV can work with the actual different components individually. We wouldn't really be locked into anybody. But at the same time, as I noted in the memo, we haven't had the system very long. It's still relatively new and there was a large investment in installing it. So it does seem a little bit silly to take it out. So, so I can
Just
see,
to add, to what Jolyn is saying, the system that we have, we mirrored the same system that they were putting into the Lakeview Park shelter. So that's how we decided on that. I am wondering if Crestron is the same Crestron that we used for live streaming our meetings. Because that's also called a Crestron.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the same.
It must be the same. So that was just something that I was thinking about that we might wanna go through IT and find out who services the system in there. And then the last thing I was gonna say is I don't know the policy well enough or to know if this would be allowable. But if the cost is not to exceed 9,000 and you're wanting to cover the costs this year, it's possible that we would have 3,000 in 3 different accounts. And I believe that there is a policy that allows the city administrator with authorization from a committee to transfer within line items up to 3,000. I just don't know if you can do that 3 times into the same account. Or Jolyn, were you thinking that this would be for inclusion in the capital budget for next year?
well, I mean, if they had time to do it, the sooner the better. But we know it's not like our events aren't going forward. So it's not urgent. Like it will be great once it happens. But, you know, right now we're just using, you know, as the mono inputs. You know, nobody has complained and said, oh, you don't have stereo sound. Like some of the bands, they just bring their own because they want stereo sound and they, you know, so that's how we're managing it.
Jen, go right ahead.
I can speak from personal experience that this does need to happen because putting on Pride, we had a lot of issues with it and yeah, and just having it set up correctly and it was not easy to use and yeah, I highly recommend that we do this. However, it sounds like there's a little bit more info gathering that needs to happen about the funds. I think, Abby, if you are able to find ways to use already approved funds from elsewhere that are able to be transferred to us, I'd love that, so that we can, because we already have to make a case for increases for next year in our budget request. So if we can figure out how to do this now, that'd be great.
I'm gonna make a, I lost my thought. I'm gonna have Kari go. and I'm
Oh,
gonna
just
try-
really quickly, I'm wondering if there's any kind of a secondary market for this kind of equipment. If we decided to make the switch, if it would be possible, even if it's not that much that we would recoup, to be able to sell it to another municipality or somebody, structure, something.
Yeah, there's a process that we would have to follow to dispense of the property. So we could, with our facility person who's the most familiar with that, and see.
I was gonna say, I agree with Jen. It was very hard to use for the art walk. Both years that I did the bubble party, it was very hard to deal with the system. Is this something that we should defer until we talk to the IT department?
I kind of feel like we should, because I'm still not clear on, it seems to me is it called Fearings?
Yes.
Okay, if they installed the existing system, is it just like, did they do it incorrectly? Is it more than we need? Is it too complicated? Is there some way they could help us make it a little more user friendly and do the things we want it to do? Or did they just give us way more than we needed in some ways and not enough in other ways? My first thing would be to ask them, can you come in and fix the system that you installed to make it work for us? On the other hand, if the Crestron is not the thing we want, and that's what's causing the problem, then maybe we do yank it out and go with something else. I was thinking, ETC is the name that's on there. Could they help us somehow? But I mean, so that's why I'm thinking it might be good to hold off on this until we can find out about the funding, talk to IT and figure out, what other options we have. I have no problem directing the staff or authorizing the staff to, work on this problem. I'm just not sure we're ready to commit to either proposal or a course of action. And even if it would be great to get a new system, there's something that tells me don't change it until after this season is over, because it would be awful if something went wrong, parts didn't come in, and we had no system. I guess we could just have the performers bring their own, but still.
Well, we can talk with Brian about the transfer policy, IT, about who's servicing. And I think we also have an opportunity, now that you approved the shade structure study, it might give us a window where we could ask for some of Psyche's expertise back to help us with the audio, because they did a lot of that coordination with Fearings directly, so.
Okay. So do we need a motion to defer?
How is it on our agenda?
Just says discussion.
I move to defer action on the AV upgrade budget request until a future meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of deferring this item till further notice, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. That is the end of our agenda, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank
It's been a
you.
long meeting. Good job.
Bye.
Okay, I'm off to the restroom in my next meeting. Good luck, thank you, Chair. Oh, can we put you on?
Yeah.
the agenda?